So today we'd like to welcome Emily and Lloyd from BioD that are going to demonstrate to us some of their products, their innovative materials and products that they use. And over to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm Lloyd, I'm the MD at BioD. I feel like I'm quite used to preaching to people about what we do, but I feel like I'm preaching to the converted today. We're a manufacturer in Hull, an SME. We manufacture ethically and environmentally responsible cleaning products for the most part, but other things too. So we're asked to come in and talk to you about kind of what we've learned along the way and exactly what you were saying, you know, how we actually do this stuff, which it's been a learning curve for us. I've been in the business 23 years now, yeah, but we're actually our 30th year. So the company was actually founded by a guy called Mike Barwell. He worked in the Merchant Navy, and when he retired from the Merchant Navy, he started a company cleaning ships. He was cleaning ships' hulls, etc. here in Hull. And he was wearing full respiratory gear, protective gear, and at that time in the early 80s, all the effluent he was creating was discharged into the watercourse, which he thought, this can't be great for the thing. You know, if I had to wear breathing gear and a full environmental suit, this can't be brilliant. So he set about with a local chemist, creating some environmentally responsible products that he could clean ships with. It was more expensive, wasn't quite as effective. So when he went to the shipping companies, they didn't care. They wanted the old cheap stuff, they wanted it to work effectively. So he kind of shelved the project for a couple of years, and then he was a big member of Greenpeace. He went to a talk by a Canadian professor called A.M. Gower, who actually concluded that domestic pollution contributed more to overall pollution than industrial pollution, by the virtue that it was unregulated and you could throw as much chlorine bleach down your toilet as you liked. So Mike changed tack with his cleaning products and started selling them business to business, door to door basically, and that was back in 1988. Built up a small following, converted a few people, and I think I joined the company in '96 as the first employee, and we had, the year before that, he'd got his first wholesaling products in the ethical market, Super Whole Food, to a workers' co-op over in Halifax. We carried on, we had everything manufactured for us. We were a very little fish in a very big pond, so we didn't get very good service from contract manufacturers. So I decided I'd learn a bit about process engineering and chemistry and health and safety and weights and measures. Sometimes I wish I hadn't, but I did. And was passionate about what BioD did as a business. So we started bringing things in-house, we started manufacturing ourselves, we fall well foul of health and safety, weights and measures, all of those people, not intentionally, and actually most of them were pretty good to us when they came and visited and said, you can't do things like that. We said, how should we do them? And they taught us, or gave us guidance. So we now manufacture, we export to 20 countries. We're not very well known in Hull, we don't do a lot of business here sadly. But you know, we sell quite a lot of products to China, which is quite unusual. All those empty ships going back to China have some of our products on. Although it's for a very different reason they buy there, it's about personal protection and so on. Well, what we're talking about here really is sustainability. I know you guys, it has waste in the name, but we are talking about sustainability. And I think some people, businesses struggle with what is that? What is exactly sustainability? So there's a very simple phrase to define sustainability, which I think is quite powerful in business, and we can kind of tell it to everybody who comes to work for us. And it's meeting present needs without compromising the ability to meet our future needs. It's as simple as that. You know, we're not using non-sustainable resources. So when we look at suppliers, you know, we embed that in where is it, what does it come from? We ask those questions and we've kind of got it down to a fine art. So we send it out in a supplier questionnaire and we have it, where do you come from, who are you accredited by? And at first it is a little bit of work. But when you have it set up, it becomes embedded in the nature of the business. You know, I'm sure you guys have heard it, reduce, reuse, recycle. I mean, when minimising waste, that's all you need to know, really. You know, the first, and they're in order. As we've gone along, I mean, as you get bigger as a business, and it was interesting you were saying, you know, you've got to be a certain size, or you've got to be able to afford to implement these things. Well, we try and make everything cost neutral or cost benefit anyway in sustainability, and it can be. For instance, some of our suppliers supply products to us in IBCs, international bulk containers. You may have seen these big cage containers, and we were paying £120 one trip use. We signed them for £20 or something when we're done with them. But we actually sat down, and you know, they were buying them and the cost of transporting and so on. And we worked out a laundering process. They charged us £30 for laundering, and we paid a deposit on it, and we got less than £30 back on the deposit. They collected them when they were dropping our next order off, so there was no kind of environmental impact of that, because they were an empty lorry, they were taking IBCs that they could reuse. They were saving money because they weren't buying new ones every time, they weren't making a profit on us. And at the time we did this was a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, we were buying 1,000 a year, but the net benefit was £70 per IBC. Put £70,000 straight back on my bottom line. You know, what MD is not going to be happy with that. And this is much smaller. That's obviously a blatantly big one to get people interested in it. But those sustainability things can be cost neutral and cost benefit. You know, I mean, we try and source everything's plant-based or sustainable.
Sorry, I've totally missed
That's
my cue.
all right.
Totally missed my cue.
About
I've got, like,
us,
two
yeah.
slides in now.
Everything's plant-based or
There we go.
sustainable, and we ensure it is.
Okay.
You know, even things, I mean, palm oil, everyone hates palm oil right now, but people don't look beyond the headlines. For instance, palm oil, we make sure we get it from a sustainable source that's in Ghana, that, you know, single source, where possible. It's not possible on everything. But it's certainly all RSPO certified, which means we know it's going to be from a sustainable source. And our customers would like us, or would have liked us to convert to coconut, but coconut takes 4 times as much space to yield the same amount of oil. So instead of having to have palm production that takes up about the size of Portugal, we'd have to take up the landmass of Canada to do the same out of coconut. So that's sustainability. You know, it's realising a realistic way to tackle the problem of palm and irresponsible palm growing, not moving the problem somewhere else. And that's often the case with raw materials and ingredients. It's great saying we use natural, we don't use mineral oils, etc. But we have to check that our supply chain is responsible as well. So it does take a bit of setting up. But once you have, and generally it's a fantastic marketing benefit for your business. You know, if we're talking business to business, it's a great marketing benefit that corporate and social responsibility, environmental policies, they have to be meaningful. And at BioD they are. And another small example, we make soaps, and the oils for the soaps come in a quite innovative cardboard box that's foil lined. So they're not using plastic, because our suppliers are like-minded to us. So they make up the box, they pour the hot oil in so it can take the heat, then they send them to us. Again, I looked at those, I thought they must be expensive. They must be expensive, those things. They are. They cost them over £1 to produce. We look after them now, instead of chucking them about, so we flat pack them, stack them up on a pallet. When they're delivering to us, they take them back, and they give us 50 pence for every one we take back. Well, I use 20,000 of those a year. You know, it's another £10,000 on the bottom line. You know, sometimes I feel like we don't really need to have a business if we could just keep saving money on our suppliers, you know. But, you know, if we work on 10% net margin, that's £700,000 worth of new sales I have to get to drop that money to my bottom line. It's a lot harder to find that £700,000 worth of sales than it is to work with my suppliers on how we can be sustainable with the things that we buy from them. It doesn't work on everything. But, you know, and they're not just the only costs. I mean, then I'm not paying to empty skips full of cardboard with foil on, which isn't recyclable because it's mixed material. So when we're looking at sustainability, that reduce the amount we produce, which is going from plastic to card, reuse everything we possibly can, and recycle. And you know, even some things you can't. We have a great relationship with scrap stores, so when we have end-of-life bottles, etc., at least then it goes into education and fun. It's not going into landfill, or we'll recycle if it's appropriate.
Cool. Right,
That's
I'm
me
going to
then.
jump in on that one.
Yeah.
So that's about how we source the ingredients that actually go into the products. But as a lot of the topics that you've been discussing today are probably about, packaging is a really big element to it as well. We were perfectly timed actually in the way that we launched our 100% recycled bottles. So all of our bottles are made from 100% recycled post-consumer waste. So not just recycled waste from the virgin plastic material production process, but actually waste that's gone into people's blue bins. And it's something that we were looking at, well, probably a year before David Attenborough and his wonderful Blue Planet programme came along, and we actually launched, I think it was about 2 weeks after the programme aired, so I was like, yes, win. But ultimately we're quite lucky in the respect that we're an established business. Yeah, we're an established business, so when these new innovations are coming into play, our suppliers know that we want to take them on board and incorporate them into our products. As well as having 100% recycled materials, like Lloyd said, the best thing we can do is reduce and reuse. So we have a lot of refill stations. One of these is actually from Grain on Newland Avenue. I can't remember which one, so sorry. But this one at the end of. So we have a lot of independent retail stores that have these kind of refill stations set up. We have schools that we work with that do it as well, as part of getting their sort of students involved in different cleaning things too. And this massively reduces the amount of single-use plastic people have, because unfortunately we haven't found a way to make washing up liquid go in people's pockets, or any way that we can provide a liquid without going in plastic. Yeah, that's it. We looked at lots of different packaging materials, things like aluminium and glass, but like with glass it was the weight of the products that made the transport not very carbon friendly, and with aluminium it's to do with compatibility with products. So this was a way that we could massively reduce the amount of plastic that we're using without compromising the product quality and also the other elements of our business where we try and reduce our carbon footprint. And I think it's doubled since last year, the sales on these kind of products. And the year before that we probably looked at about another sort of like 50-60% increase. So we've seen a huge increase in this kind of thinking. And ultimately, we want to be able to take these containers back, wash them out, and refill them with our products. So we've got a complete closed loop cycle. We're just trying to do it tricky at the moment, to try and find somebody who'll be able to clean those out for us. But ultimately, that's what we're aiming for.
So the bottles are 100% recycled, they're reusable and recyclable. So you can use them things 20, 30 times probably before you then recycle, which needs a lot of
So it's not just the products, as Lloyd's already alluded to anyway, that we look at when we're looking at the environmental impact. It's also the processes that we use. So that can be the manufacturing processes, all of these wonderful features of our lovely factory. And when we're looking at manufacturing, we look at efficiencies and how we can make the products most efficiently. We also look at other elements of our business, so are we using renewable energy? Simple things like, are we using single-use cups at water coolers? Now it can go from those kinds of small areas to the things that Lloyd was talking about earlier about working with suppliers to try and reduce the amount of waste that we're using with them. And
I say those things that do cost, you can fund usually from what you can do in your supply chain. We certainly have on lots of things. A couple of years ago, we got to a point in the business where we thought, we were chasing big kind of whale hunting, if you like, on the sales, and we said, well, actually, when you grow, especially if you grow rapidly, you tend to build in inefficiency into your business, because you're that desperate to keep going, growing, and stretching to grow that you build in that inefficiency. Once we had time to stop and look at what was happening within the business. And again, you know, I know as business owners, we're all very busy, or in any organisation, you can be very busy, so you don't have time to stop and reflect, but when you do, there are often significant benefits to be had.
Yeah, and on that, I think the most powerful tool that we've found is people. So nobody knows anybody else's job as well as the person who actually does it, or most of the time anyway. So what we do is we empower people in their role to identify the savings that they can make in what they do. So making them aware of what we do as a business. You know, we have our mission, vision and values everywhere, and we have regular staff meetings, and we always bring up the fact that everything we want to do is around being environmentally responsible and ethical. And we've had some great ideas,
Yeah,
haven't
and
we?
we
Like
have
the
some
label.
suggestions on
Yeah.
it, you know, and we also say that and if they make a good suggestion on improving sustainability or quality or whatever it may be within the business, they get a £20 voucher. But if it saves the company money, they get 10% of whatever it saves at the end of year one. Well, there can be a pretty big incentive there for staff. And actually, I'm still saving 90% of it. So, but you'd be surprised how that engages people in saving money for the organisation. A simple one was labels. We were kind of using Avery labels, which when we started we were using a box a month, and then we were using them for years and years, and those orders just grew and grew. And we switched it to a specialist label printer which had eco inks and eco adhesives and so on. And the saving was £7,500 a year just on labels, and somebody got £750 in their back pocket for making that suggestion. It's certainly worth having, isn't it? And everybody wins.
Yeah, I think that's probably where we've got a lot of the really great ideas from, is people in their own roles being empowered to make those decisions, and then also being listened to.
Yeah.
I mean, lawyer is here, so go on, say anyway.
Slightly biased.
Yeah. But look, Lloyd's really good at listening to people.
Sorry?
When they come Lloyd's really good at but he's really good at taking what people think on board, and also like investigating it further. If it saves you money. So we also do things that make it easy for people to be environmentally friendly in what they do. So we have like bike to work schemes, and we make sure we've got bike shelters for people. We give everybody sort of reusable cups and mugs when they start that are at their own, so they don't have to sort of worry about trying to
Well, even
find
that
those
we were
things.
using kind
So-
of biodegradable paper cups, because but then when you work out what we were spending over the year, we just got everybody a kind of chili type mug, a flask mug, that's branded and they can use and take home. And then we just remove the paper cup, operations, etc., etc. And that gives you, what it gives you is a defined structure on how to improve sustainability in your business. It gives you everything you need, the flow charts, you have to make decisions. It's not onerous at all, actually. You embed it into your business day to day when you're doing it properly. And it's a twice a year meeting to say, okay, well, we're going to improve sustainability in these areas. What are we going to do next? Have we achieved it? Yes, no, why not? What are we going to achieve next? But it gives you lots of ideas and structure on how you do improve that sustainability and embed that reduce, reuse, recycle into your business. So that is a really handy tool that is size specific, so the smaller you are, the less you pay to have it. So it's a great one to get in early into your business and embed in that. For business to business, a business to business group, that's the simplest way, the most accessible way. When you say people, we need help, that's a really easy way. I think P2P is better for me, actually. You know, if anyone wants to talk about sustainability, I'd be happy to talk to them. But that gives you a great framework to use it with your business or organisation.
I think the most important thing about that is that it keeps it on the cards. So what can happen is, obviously with projects you can go, right, sustainability is really important, we need to do it, and then somebody writes a policy, and then sort of 2 years
Sticks
later,
in a drawer.
2 years later someone comes back and goes, we did that thing on sustainability, do you remember that time? So this means that you have to have the regular meetings, it keeps you on track with it.
And it's that embedded in our business now. It's kind of a joke. We have the recycling police and all sorts of things. You know, it's, nobody's getting away with not doing sustainable things for the organisation.
Cool, so that's kind of us. That's just an overview of sort of what we do and how we do it. But please ask us questions.
Anyone's got any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. Thanks for presenting. I thought it was really interesting. Thanks for that. You were talking about suppliers. So I had a question about how you go about making sure that their values and their practices are aligned to yours, really. So thinking about the sort of qualification criteria you might have, or sort of question sets for getting a new supplier on board, and then how you might prioritise and audit them and the frequency of audits.
Well, we have Heather, our quality manager, is very good at that kind of auditing. I'm more than happy to share with you guys if there's somewhere I can send it to our pre-supplier questionnaire. And we told them, we asked them for, you'd be surprised how many people are afraid to ask, have you got an environmental policy? Have you got a sustainability policy? Can I see it? These documents for me aren't internal documents. The ones we have, we're quite happy to show to our potential customers if they want to know what we're doing and what's embedded in our business. And even things like then our, not that we'd share those with customers necessarily, but we have a big dossier of documents from our ISO 14001 meetings, etc. So there are lots of things you can do. It depends on what's important to your business. But there's a very generic set of questions that we ask our customers, our suppliers, I'm more than happy to share those with you if you want them. I mean, we ask things about animal testing and all sorts of things, what they're involved in, and they have to sign it off to us, and you'd be surprised people, I think in this day and age, are too terrified of signing something off if it's not true. And if we're unsure of anything, we'll then fire it back at them and ask again. But simply ask for their sustainability policy, environmental policy, or anything, what accreditations do they have? That's the easy way to do it if you want to sit at your desk. Go and see them, talk to them, look at their sites. We audit our suppliers, we go and look at them. Often just having a walk around, you can get a really good feel for how they are. You still need the policies to back that up. But if they're saying they're recycling, they're just got huge general waste bins around, and it's most of it's fairly simple, but it's putting it all together that's more complicated. Anyone else? That was easy then.
Lloyd, Emily, thank you very much for that. Yeah, really,
Yeah.
really insightful. Thanks for your time.
Emily's got someone's email, so if you do want that information, you can send it
If
over.
anyone thinks of any other questions after.
Just a question / request. Do you have any information on the specific products that you have that we can share proactively within our organisations?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
we've got 2,000 kitchens that are all full of fairy liquid, where I'd rather they be full of biod if
Johnson
possible. So,
D2 and D10 and all that.
yeah, well, we can't promise, but we can share. So
No,
if you can
no.
somehow get that information to us for the next one, then we can take that away.
We can get, we can
Sure.
certainly do that, that's not a problem. I mean, we are listed with East Riding Supplies as well. That's locally, that is one organisation listed with.
Is the part of your business sort of business to resellers? Or is it business
It's all sorts of things really. I mean, that's
Yeah.
certainly the majority of our business, but we do a lot in hospitality and catering. Our products that are appropriate are all BSEN 1276, which is control of E. coli, salmonella, etc. So they can be used in commercial catering environments. There was an evolution supplying retailers when the kind of recession hit in 2008. They were all diversifying and started becoming delis and so on as well. And they were using our products because they sold them, and then environmental health officers were going in and saying, does this comply with this legislation? At that time I'd never heard of it. Well, no it doesn't, because it doesn't apply. But the opportunity was too big to ignore, or the risk was too big that we'd lose those sales. So we set about developing products in a way that weren't using things like triplicell, etc. It's sustainable. We use lactic acid from corn as an antimicrobial. So yeah, it's certainly suitable for use in commercial environments. We have lots of kind of, everything we do is suitable for use with septic tanks as well. So rural properties, we supply lots of kind of log cabin parks, caravan parks we supply to hotels, contract cleaners, you name it really. We don't like saying no to people.
Do you supply direct or do you have?
It depends on
wholesalers
volumes,
yourself?
but we can supply direct. Our website, there is a trade section on there, so you can get trade prices
Yeah.
through there. And we use a local third-party fulfilment to fulfil those, because as a manufacturer, really, I'm sending pallet loads and lorry loads out rather than. But you can buy it locally from us at trade prices on our website.
Yeah.
But it's actually, if I'm honest, a third party that
Yeah.
fulfills it, that specialise, they're better at it than us. So yes, you can buy direct.
Right, unless anybody has any burning questions, I'm going to end it there, so I'm just a bit wary of time.
Yes,
so
sorry.
thank you to both of you.